Pauline is in Donkey Kong Bonanza, but she's a kid. What does this mean? There are a bunch of theories, and I'm going to talk about some of them and how likely I think they are. And then I'll talk about some other stuff like Kremlings, but we're doing Pauline first. Theory number 1, Prequel Theory. Prequel Theory states that the reason Pauline is a child is because this game takes place before all the other games featuring her. And since Mario's first ever game happens to feature Pauline, that means Bonanza takes place before every single game, except the ones that take place in the past. A common idea is that Bonanza will end with DK carrying Pauline up a construction site, with Mario misinterpreting the situation and trying to save her, even though she's actually perfectly safe. This would be a fun idea, if it didn't contradict literally everything. The original Donkey Kong that kidnapped Pauline is actually Cranky Kong when he was younger. This is confirmed several times, including in his original appearance, and the fact his game was primitive and retro is the basis of his entire character. Mario and Pauline have been confirmed to have had a relationship in the past several times, and if Pauline is a child here, this is super duper weird. Okay, but what if this isn't the modern Donkey Kong, but rather that younger version of Cranky Kong we mentioned? First off, it literally doesn't look like him. Second, Cranky Kong is in the game, references his rivalry with Mario, and his design is identical to how it has been for years, which, by the way, doesn't really resemble the new or old DK design all that much. So the argument that Bonanza's DK would grow up to look identical to Cranky is just preposterous. Finally, Diddy and Dixie are also in the game. I've seen people say that they're just retconning that Cranky Kong was the original DK, but even if they were, that wouldn't solve anything. If Mario is supposed to be around 24 in the original arcade game, confirmed by Miyamoto, and Pauline is around the same age as Mario, and Pauline is 13 in Bonanza, this is official, she's officially 13 in Bonanza, then that means all the Mario and DK games take place at least a decade after Bonanza. So you're telling me that elderly old Cranky Kong is still just as active as ever 10 plus years later, and that DK, Diddy, and Dixie all look and act the same as ever? Even if this was somehow the case, how do you explain Donkey Kong Jr. and Tiny Kong? Donkey Kong Jr. is a baby in most of the games he appears in, but he's an adult in Super Mario Kart and Mario's Tennis. Similarly, Tiny Kong's original appearance had her as a child, but then in her next appearance, she's an adult. So, I don't think I even need to explain the incongruence with aging here. Bonanza is not a prequel. The only way it could be is if this game is a series reboot. I keep saying people saying, "It doesn't matter. Nintendo will do what they want. They don't care, and neither should you." But even disregarding the fact that I fundamentally disagree with that claim, I don't think you guys realize how unprecedented this would be. This isn't just some silly plot hole or dismissing of some funny lore tidbits from past games. Bonanza being a prequel would fully and utterly dismantle the entire history of the Mario and Donkey Kong series. Mario doesn't have a concrete timeline, but you don't need a concrete timeline to be able to have an agreed upon series of events and character traits. And this would ditch everything! It would ditch everything we know about the original arcade game. It would ditch the entire basis of Cranky Kong's character. It would ditch the plots of several Mario and DK games. It would redefine Pauline's relationship with Mario. It would make the plot of several Donkey Kong games nonsensical. This isn't just not caring. This is downright destructive! And there are so many references in this game too. Why would they reference so many past games if those games aren't even compatible anymore? And the smoking gun. The people making this game are the same guys that made Super Mario Odyssey, the game that introduced New Donk City. New Donk City, based on Big City from the Donkey Kong Game Boy game, with a festival about the city's history, with a quiz from Pauline that confirms she was captured by an ape, and that it was a traumatic experience, and that Mario was there when it happened! What is this voice I'm doing? Each and every one of the 3D Mario games created and expanded upon so much lore. Galaxy, 3D World, Captain Toad, Odyssey, they're all connected and their lore is all built up. Why? Why in the world would their very next game choose to completely destroy the lore of the previous? And why would they do that? Why would they do that? Another common idea of prequel theory is that this game will end with Pauline going on to be the founder of New Donk City, or maybe it will lead to her renaming the city when she becomes mayor in the future. But New Donk City is already called New Donk City in the intro of the game, so we know this cannot be the case. It's possible that this game takes place before Odyssey, or maybe even games like Donkey Kong Country Returns, but there's no way it can take place prior to the original SNES games or the arcade game. I will not be humoring this theory, not now, not ever. Now, before I get into the rest of the theories, let's go over some basic facts about the game's plot. This'll help you guys come up with your own theories as well as see the issues with other ones. Number 1, the plot of the game is that Void Kong is trying to get to the planet core to have his wish granted. That wish being, for all the world's riches to belong to him. Pauline and DK are stuck underground, and without a way out, they're heading to the planet core to try to have their wishes granted instead. Later on, it's revealed that Void Kong is trying to get to something called the Banandium Root. We don't know what that is, but he's pretty obsessive over it. Number 2.
DK, I love to sing, more than anything. I have this dream. Maybe, if we get to the surface, you and me, we can make it more than a dream.
So a lot of us have assumed that her dream has something to do with her love of singing, but we don't get told exactly what that is. It could be anything, so the idea that this has to be before she becomes a popular singer as an adult is not necessarily true. For all we know, this wish may still not be granted as of Super Mario Odyssey. Number 3.
You shouldn't have run away, Pauline. Come back to me right now.
No way! You're the worst!
Voidco needs Pauline for some reason. Probably her singing ability? But anyway, both Pauline and Voidco know each other. Voidco is also surely the reason she became Oddrock, considering the Voidco pattern that covers her body. Number 4. Pauline's singing is special. It can break free, lead the way. It can break seals and lead the way. It can transform DK into Bonanza mode as well. As far as we know, adult Pauline does not have any magical abilities like this, meaning it's possible whatever Voidco did to her awoke this power. Okay, back to the theories. Theory number 2, relative theory. This theory states that Pauline is actually a relative of the adult Pauline. The most common theory I see is that she is Pauline's daughter, but she could also be a cousin, a niece, or maybe even a kid's sister. The main issue with this theory is that it's a little weird that she looks identical to the adult Pauline. Relatives tend to look similar, but this is kinda overkill. Not to mention, it's also weird that her name is the same as the adult, but it could be a middle name, or maybe they're both named after the same grandma or something like that. I think the one interesting thing about this theory is the parallels that it would create. Donkey Kong's grandpa kidnapped the original Pauline, but the modern Donkey Kong protects the new Pauline. It's solving the metaphorical generational trauma. Also, the DK name is passed on through the Kong family, while Pauline's name would be passed on through her family. Despite this, I think this is one of the more unlikely theories, especially if this is supposed to be Pauline's daughter. If Pauline is around 25 to 30 and she is a 13-year-old child, assuming that this game takes place around the same time as most other recent Mario games, Pauline had a child when she was 17 or younger? So, exact ages of characters aren't really important to Mario characters, aside from a few instances where Miyamoto said Mario was in his mid-20s when he was conceived. It doesn't come up often, so it's possible Pauline had a child at a reasonable age and she's just older than we think she is, but I still think it's bizarre for her to have a child that's as old as 13. And this also means that Mario was dating her when she had a child, which isn't impossible, but we've never seen any hint of this child before. Pauline's secret child. Anyway, relative theory could be completely plausible, but I think her identical appearance, name, and hobbies make it unlikely to be a relative, but rather the normal Pauline. Theory number 3, random girl theory. This is similar to relative theory, except instead of being a relative of Pauline, it is a random girl. Some random girl in New Donk City looks up to the beloved Mayor Pauline and wants to be like her someday. She styles her hair after her, dresses similarly, and wants to grow up to be a great singer as well. Her name is either coincidentally the same, or maybe Pauline is her middle name, or her name is Janice or something, and she's lying to people about her real name. I don't think this theory is likely either. It's about on par with relative theory, but maybe a little bit more plausible. Or less plausible, I don't know. Theory number 4, time travel theory. This theory states that this is Pauline from the past, and she was brought to the future via time travel. This one seems to be one of the most likely, but I don't think it really contributes anything interesting to the plot, so I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this probably isn't right. It's one of the most plausible, it has pretty much no contradictions, but I'm just not buying it. Why does Voidco need to kidnap the past version of Pauline for their scheme? I don't think it makes very much sense. Theory number 5, time loop theory. This theory states that this is Pauline as a child, but the game still takes place in the present. What if Pauline's wish at the end of the game sends her back in time, either causing her to be reborn in the past, or just for her to continue her life in the past? Her wish would end up starting and fulfilling a time loop. Pauline gets sent back in time by her wish, she grows up to date Mario, gets kidnapped by DK, becomes mayor, etc. So all the games we've seen Pauline in actually feature this kid Pauline after she was sent back and grew up. The major flaw with this theory is that Bananza's Pauline probably lives in New Donk City, where adult Pauline is the mayor. There is no way this kid doesn't know about her own mayor and question why she's so similar to her. For this alone, I think this theory is not likely, but this flaw could be solved by theory number 6, wish revisionism theory. This theory states that Bananza takes place in an alternate timeline separate from all the rest of the Mario series, where the only difference is that Pauline doesn't exist. Most of the same events occur aside from the ones that feature Pauline. This is because Pauline is a 13-year-old girl in the present day. Her wish at the end of Bananza rewrites the timeline, so that she is born in the past instead, and grows up to do all the stuff we know her to have done. All the Mario games we've played before happened in this wish-revised timeline. This theory is absolutely bonkers bananas insane, but it's actually more likely than you think. Weird time loop stuff is not unprecedented. I would like to turn your attention over to Super Mario Galaxy. In the storybook, we learn about Rosalina's backstory. She meets a Luma in the broken down Starshroom on what we end up learning later is the Gateway Galaxy. The Luma is looking for its mama. Rosalina goes out on a quest with the Luma and ends up meeting tons of other Lumas who mistake Rosalina as being their mama. In the end, Rosalina ends up becoming their adoptive mother. At the end of the game, Rosalina explains how the universe is cyclical. When the universe prematurely comes to an end, the Lumas reset it back to the beginning, and in the true ending, we see Rosalina visiting the Gateway Galaxy, with the following scene being the Luma from the storybook inside of the broken down Starshroom, which means that the mama that the Lumas in the storybook were looking for was adult Rosalina from a past universe cycle. Lumas look for Mama. Lumas find Rosalina. Rosalina becomes Mama. Universe resets. Lumas vaguely remember their memories from the past cycle. Lumas look for Mama. It's a time loop, or a universal loop, rather. And while I don't think the time loop theory is likely for Bananza, the wish revisionism theory is essentially the same thing but without the cycle. So if they were willing to do a weird time loop adjacent story in Galaxy, what's stopping them from doing a weird time loop adjacent story in Bananza? As possible as this theory is, I really hope it's incorrect, because I think the next theory is the most plausible and it's also my preferred outcome. Theory number 7. De-aged theory. This theory states that Pauline has been transformed into a child and lost all of her memories past the age of 13. As far as she knows, she's the same age as she was yesterday. She doesn't remember becoming mayor, being a popular singer, getting kidnapped by an ape, or any of her other memories. And this is the theory that I think is most likely. Other people have pointed out how Pauline's clothes look a little big on her. Her dress is ripped up, her jeans are rolled up and baggy, and most importantly, she isn't wearing shoes. In fact, none of her costumes include shoes, except for her diva dress, which I'd imagine gets unlocked at the end of the game, like how many of Mario Odyssey's outfits were unlocked in the post-game, but could be accessed early through Amiibo. Pauline cannot wear the shoes she was wearing as an adult because they are too large. Why can't she wear shoes in any of her new outfits? Yeah, I don't really know. Looking at this from a different angle, there is the fact that Voidco need her to cooperate with them. There are a bunch of different ways this could go, but here is the idea in my head. In order to activate the planet core, Voidco needs someone with a heart of gold to sing for them. Due to Mayor Pauline's popularity, they decide to go to her. New Donk City is already providing resources for the mining expedition on Ingot Isle, so they're easily able to get her attention. Pauline hears them out, maybe even agrees to help them, but ultimately realizes they're up to no good and tries to back out. For some reason, Voidco curses Pauline to become a rock. Maybe Voidcon thought that she would be easier to manipulate if she was a rock. Maybe he was aware it would turn her into a child and thought her child brain would be too stupid and naive to realize they are evil. Maybe the curse was necessary to awaken the magic of her singing abilities. It's possible that Odd Rock is made out of a magical mineral that does that, I don't know. Or she was transformed to be used as a bargaining tool, Voidco promising to free her as long as she sings for them. Or maybe he cursed her secretly and was hoping that once he freed her, she would feel indebted to him and help him out. Maybe they straight up just turned her into a child because only children have hearts of gold, or something. And after she refused to help, Voidco cursed her into Odd Rock. Whatever the reason Voidco cursed her, she runs away and DK gets to her before she can be captured again. So Voidco's main goal is to block off all the paths through the underground so they can get Pauline back and take her to the core with them. Notice how they do not seem to care about DK at all in their first meeting. The focus is all on Pauline. So back to the de-aged theory, the idea is that Voidco cursed her and either intentionally or unintentionally turned her into a child, and maybe her wish at the end of the game will return her to her adult form. Because of this, I'm not sure if Bananza will have a post-game. It might have a post-final boss but pre-ending state where you can revisit all the areas with new stuff. But Pauline decides to hang out with DK a bit more before making her wish. Going back to Pauline's appearance, you'll notice that around her hair is a rock hairband and around her wrist is a rock bracelet. Are these stuck on her body? Does this mean she's still somewhat cursed? The curse wasn't broken all the way? Well, I'm not sure because her diva dress does not include the bracelet. I suggested earlier that the diva dress may be a late game unlock, which would explain why it doesn't adhere to the rules, but some of her other outfits seem to be missing the bracelet as well, unless they're just covered up by her sleeves. So, who knows? On the topic of outfits though, her default fit is called the Rock Out Rags. Is it possible she was attending or maybe even performing at a rock concert when Voidco took her? Maybe. Although I feel like it's just supposed to be a pun because it's the raggy clothes she's wearing after she gets out of the rock. Rock Out Rags. Anyway, I'm not even really talking about de-aged theory anymore, so let's move on to other stuff. It's time for Banana Bandit theories. Cranky Kong's got a bit of a side story with Rambi going on, and it's quite interesting. It may not lead anywhere, but I think it's worth checking out. Here's the relevant stuff he says when you first meet him.
Oh, look whose big hairy mug finally turned up. Do you know why I'm down here, eh? Well, I'll tell ya. It's because a certain big shot was derelict of duty. When I heard there was a Banana Bandit on the loose, I knew who to blame. Just had to suss out where he ran to hide. But my job wasn't done there, no sir. See, the so-called leader of the bunch was away for a frolic in the mines. You get what I'm saying? I had to leave our comfort island to be the hero, just because you weren't around. Phooey! It should have been you riding Rambi all the way down here to avenge those stolen bananas, not me. What a rotten crook. How does a fool like that command any respect? In my day, rivals had charisma, even in overalls.
So at first glance, So at first glance, you may just assume Cranky is talking about Void Kong stealing the Banandium gems from Ingot Isle, but that's clearly not the case here. It's possible DK was storing some Banandium gems on DK Isle, but there really isn't any indication of that. So, he's talking about the Banana Horde. While DK was out on Ingot Isle mining for Banandium gems, some guy came along and took the Banana Horde, forcing Cranky to chase him into the underground to get him back. Now, before we get too excited about the implications here, we have recently seen the Japanese version of a few of the lines of text in this dialogue, and he does mention a company, which means he probably is talking about Void Kong. So even though it felt like he was talking about K. Rool, he's probably not. However, it's possible that Cranky Kong is wrong. Why would Void Kong need the Banana Horde? We don't know. If the bull imagery in the game means there's a demon bull king waiting at the planet core, maybe the bananas are an offering to calm him down. Actually, maybe they need Pauline singing to calm him down. Huh. That's not a bad idea. The demon bull king awaits at the planet core guarding the Banandium root, and it's only the song of a pure heart that can defeat the bull king? Am I onto something here? But yeah, we don't have any hint at why Void Kong needs DK's bananas, so even though Cranky thinks it's Void Kong, what if it's not him? What if it's K. Rool? Or what if it's Diddy Kong? Hear me out. So Diddy and Dixie made a Ramby race court out of Ingot Isle debris, but why are they here? Well, what if they were taking advantage of the whole gold rush and wanted to provide some entertainment for the miners, but with DK already gone and Diddy leaving the island, who's protecting the Banana Horde? Nobody. So Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong take the Banana Horde and transport it to Ingot Isle. Cranky notices the horde is gone, freaks out, and follows a trail of bananas to Ingot Isle and into the underground world. Diddy's refusal to communicate caused Cranky a whole lot of distress, and that is why he wasn't invited to Mario Kart World. It's possible Cranky's side plot won't really go anywhere, talking to him is optional, and it could just be one big red herring. Now, about K. Rool. I don't know why he would need DK's bananas either, unless he's trying to lure DK into the underground world for some reason. We'll get back to K. Rool later, but let's talk about Bananza forms for a bit. On layers with animal NPCs, we can find giant elders that teach Pauline how to power up DK into different Bananza forms. Kong Bananza gives DK insane strength. Zebra Bananza gives DK insane running speed. Ostrich Banana gives DK flight. But from the skill points section, it seems there are 2 more Bananza forms, and personally, I think there might be 3. And the third one isn't listed because you can't upgrade it, it's only used in the ending of the game. So what are these 2 Bananza forms? My first idea is an animal that lets you swim! Or at least walk on the ocean floor. DK can't go under the water in this game, but there are still collectibles down there. Maybe you can just get them by clapping, but it's possible that they're only accessible by using a Bananza form. Is this form a fish, a crab, a semi-aquatic mammal? Who knows? As for the second form, I'm thinking either something that lets you dig or climb better. I think digging is less likely because Kong Bananza already makes you stronger, so climbing it is. We need an animal with long, sharp claws to help dig into the side of walls, even if they're all slippery. Perhaps a big cat like a lion or a jaguar? Or maybe even a Kremling? That's right, guys. I think Kremling Bananza is really likely. You start with Kong Bananza and end with Kremling Bananza. Maybe Kremling Bananza wouldn't help you climb, but it would do something. Maybe it's the secret final Bananza that only appears at the end of the game. Maybe you have to team up with K. Rool and he grants you the power to become a Kremling. Speaking of Kremlings, let's finally talk about them. So the main theory going around is that Voidco is K. Rool in disguise. There's a lot of reasons for this. Journey to the West parallels, Pauline being transformed, DK himself changing forms, and also just a lot of supposed fakeness in Void Kong's theming. Personally, I find this unlikely. I think Void Kong is being set up too strongly to just turn out to be K. Rool in disguise, and honestly, I'd be a little disappointed if he was. I think Voidco is awesome, and I'd prefer if he was just his own thing. His insane greed also leads me to believe that he's not working for K. Rool either. He doesn't seem like the type of guy to work for anybody, unless K. Rool is taking a hands-off approach, letting Void Kong basically do whatever he wants. So I don't think Voidco is related to K. Rool, but I still think it's possible that the Kremlings will appear in this game. And I have a bit of an idea for how they could do it. And I'm probably a little bit insane for thinking this. So this scene in the direct, Void Kong is really mad. But who's he mad at? Is it Donkey Kong? Is it... Okay, I have to stop. This is really distracting. I think it's K. Rool. Void Kong and K. Rool are butting heads because K. Rool wants to get the Banandium root as well. So where is K. Rool introduced? In the dedicated Kremling layer, of course. A layer completely dedicated to crocodiles. And maybe it's not even themed around Kremlings, I just imagine that K. Rool and his critters are occupying one of the lower layers of the underground world. If the Kremlings are the Banana Bandits, then this could be the lair where the Horde shows up. And when Voidco gets there, he meets him and freaks out. Now this leads to an interesting dynamic, because now there are two separate villain forces. Which one will be the big bad to end the game? Will K. Rool take over and force Voidco to team up with you? Will K. Rool put his differences aside to teach you the Kremling Bonanza and stop Void Kong's evil plot? Will they both realize that neither are able to match the power of the Demon Bull King? We don't know. And even though this is an idea I came up with out of nothing, there actually is evidence of a Kremling lair being in the game. I saw some people pointing out the rock structures in these two scenes look a lot like a crocodile, and yeah, I definitely think it's a crocodile. Maybe a dragon, but probably crocodile. That's it, guys. This is a Kremling lair. Now, that doesn't guarantee that the Kremlings are going to be in the game. The giraffe lair doesn't have any giraffe NPCs, at least not that we know of yet. They could be hiding them. And we've also seen evidence of an elephant lair. But will there be elephants there? What I'm wondering is, if we have a zebra, giraffe, and elephant lair, where's the squirrel-themed lair? Anyway, in this scene, Pauline says, "Get him, DK!" which implies DK is about to catch Void Kong. But this other scene, in what is presumably the same area, shows DK and Pauline looking in awe. Now, the theory others have proposed is that Voidco transforms into K. Rool here, but what if DK is in awe simply because the Kremlings have made their appearance? If Voidco is indeed working with the Kremlings, then this would be the big reveal. If they're not, then this would be when Voidco realizes they're not the only bad guys in town. But yeah, even if the Kremlings aren't in this game, there's probably going to be some sort of Kremling lore implications on this crocodile lair. The crocoid enemies are rock structures built on top of golden Kremling skeletons. Maybe this lair is where they came from. An ancient tribe of Kremlings tried to utilize the Banandium root, but they all ended up dying in the process. Maybe they fought against ancient Kongs as well, and in the end, they both ended up with a shiny golden fate. In the final scene of the direct, Pauline gets eaten by a, what I believe to be mind-controlled, teleport fish. The immediate reaction is probably that you fight it as a boss and then you get Pauline back, but I think this could lead to a genuine separation that lasts for a portion of the game. The fish swallows Pauline and takes her to another lair, and DK ends up childless for a while. Perhaps the separation lasts long enough for Voidco to blackmail her into opening the planet core with her singing, with the promise that she'll never see DK again if she doesn't. This could actually be a great time for the Kremlings to appear. DK gets to the next lair and is immediately met with critters shocked to see his arrival. And while they don't like DK, they don't really have a reason to fight him. DK just wants Pauline back. And then you get to the end of the lair to find that Void Kong was unable to get as far as he wanted to because K. Rool is in the way. And this is when that cutscene plays. This could potentially even be before the Kremling lair. The Kremlings are occupying whatever this one lair is, but the actual ancient Kremlings lived on a lower level. This is just baseless speculation, but regardless, I do think Voidco separates you from Pauline for a bit. Man, this video is long. This was just supposed to be a short little thing, but it's taken, what, like 20 minutes? I'm probably not doing any more pre-release Bonanza videos, but the whole child Pauline situation forced my hand. I'm out. Bye-bye. We're breaking through, down to the core. No stopping us, not anymore. Inside the storm, I found the key to be heard of my voice and sing something. Miracles. Da, 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 da. And then end of the game, you go to the moon and you go into the moon caves, and then you meet the Ghastly King and he teaches you the Cactus Bonanza and you kill the Brutals.